What happened to the no-confidence motion against Finance Minister Ravi Karnanayaka? Interpretations by both the government and the opposition.
තුනෙන් දෙකක රාජ්‍ය බලයක් පවත්වාගෙන යනවා කියු ආණ්ඩුව පළවෙනි ගල සෙලවීම ආරම්භ වුණා.
Parliament debates on the deaths of the SLTB.
නඩු දාන්නේ අලුතෙන් ආව අධ්‍යක්ෂවරුන්ට. සමහරක් දැන් හැංගිලා ඉන්නේ. අපිට අයිතිය තියෙන්නේ පරණ අධ්‍යක්ෂවරුන්ට විරුද්ධව නඩු දාන්න.
COPE committee chairman reveals that requests were made to delay the summoning of CBSL governor before COPE.
The TV network that transformed itself to become the most powerful and influential life brand celebrates 18 years today.
A very good evening to you. You're watching Primetime News and we are coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studio here in Colombo. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
I'm Saturanga Puarachi. Let's take a look at the local stories first. The doors of the historic President's House located at Janadipati Mawata in Fort Colombo has been opened for public viewing.
Among the many buildings from different eras that still exist in Sri Lanka today, the majestic President's House in Colombo, which is the official residence of the President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, occupies a special place. The President's House, which was used as a shrine during the Portuguese rule and then a church during the Dutch era, plays an important role in the history of Sri Lanka. The first map of Colombo, drawn in the 18th century, sees this building included in it. When Dutch Governor Johan Gerard van Engelbeek constructed a new building at this premises, it was named the Governor's House. With the British conquering Sri Lanka and ruling the island for the next 2 centuries, this building was transformed to become the official residence of the British Governor to Sri Lanka and until 1972 was known as the Queen's House. Since its construction, this building housed 32 governors as well as 7 presidents, all of whom added their own touches to the abode. The first Sri Lankan ruler to reside here, Sir William Gopalava, took residence after he was sworn in as the first president of Sri Lanka. Thereafter, the name was changed from Queen's House to President's House. The banyan tree that grows in the garden of the house too is steeped in rich history. Members of the general public from all corners of the country arrived at the President's House to view and appreciate its grandeur. When using the staircase, it is customary that the President uses the right side of the staircase. While visiting foreign heads of states, 2 use the right side of the staircase, all others use the left. This is the Buddhist shrine at the President's House. A number of priceless works of art can be seen at the President's House. The carvings on the beams used to affix the electrical fans during the British era showcases a local touch of culture. The equipment and utensils used during functions also belong to the British era. The Gordon Garden, situated on the side of the President's House, is now a part of the presidential complex. In recent times, an underground bunker was included to the President's House. The President's House will be open to the public until Tuesday, the 14th of June, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
The Committee on Parliamentary Affairs has recommended that there is no basis on which an impeachment motion could be brought against the Secretary-General of Parliament. The Speaker announced the recommendations of the committee to the House today.
A 4-man committee was appointed to look into the issues that arose during the vote on the ₹55 million supplementary estimate that was presented before Parliament on the 5th of May. The committee comprised of opposition leader R. Sambandhan, former Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa and ministers Rauf Hakim and Vijaydasu Rajapaksa. The committee report was presented before Parliament by the Speaker.
The committee is of the view that during the last few months the conduct of some members had been unruly, aggressive and hostile. If there will be a continuation of this kind of conduct, there will be erosion of public confidence, repose in the Parliament and the democratic system of governance. Stringent measures should be taken to uphold the discipline and to maintain the decorum of the Parliament. The existing standing orders may be revised appropriately to meet the above mentioned requirement.
Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka revealed in Parliament today that houses belonging to 5,997 families were damaged due to the adverse weather conditions which were experienced in the year 2015 alone. The minister made the statement in response to a question raised by UPFA MP Kanaka Herath.
A number of families whose houses were destroyed owing to the adverse weather conditions in 2015 stands at 5,993. The families which were provided with the first phase of compensation stands at 4,057. 1,936 families still need to be provided with the estimated compensation, while 4,057 families still need to be provided with the second and third phases of compensation. I think that the program launched to provide compensation for the people who lost their houses in the Arunayak and Bulakopiti areas in the Kegol district is been conducted. If the people have a viable plot of land approved by the Geological Survey Department, can you please tell me how much will be spent to build a house on it? If you have a house, then what we need to do is facilitate the process and provide the necessary financial assistance for this purpose. Some lands come under the purview of plantation companies. Therefore, the President will discuss with the relevant companies and obtain the lands. Thereafter, the Ministry of Housing will be ready to construct houses. The Department of Geological Survey undertook a massive task in the recent past despite the lack of staff. As there is a dearth in the number of officers who work for the department, investigations on certain areas have not concluded. There's a problem with a small workforce. Therefore, we have requested the subject minister to provide a report on the workforce needed.
Nimal Siripala De Silva, the Minister of Transport, revealed in Parliament today that the Sri Lanka Transport Board owes the Employees Provident Fund and creditors a sum of 16 billion rupees. The revelation was made in response to a question raised by parliamentarian Dr. Jayampathy Wickramaratne.
Some at the SLTB are going to be pensioners. If they are given a sum of their shares, then it would be a good thing. I hope that you would act quickly to ensure that these provisions are made. When the EPF payments were not made, we took over that responsibility. The government has agreed to allocate 16 billion rupees for this. For a certain period, the state corporations did not make the provident fund payments of its employees. Cases are being filed against the newly appointed directors. Some are in hiding. We should have the right to take legal action against the former directors.
Is he aware that according to the newspaper reports, the Secretary of the Ministry of Transport has stated that 12,000 employees of the Sri Lanka Transport Board are to be discontinued and the lands and buildings belonging to the 120 depots, which will be reduced to 70, are to be disposed of. In other words, to be sold off.
This is not a process that is taking place to force some to retire or remove some from service. This is a process that would encourage voluntary retirement. There are two ways to pay the 16 billion rupees. One is to implement the minister's proposal through a separate entity, or we will have to increase the taxes. Just because the EPF was paid, you do not have to remove some from service. An employee is entitled to the EPF from his salary. During the past 5 years, the sum for the EPF that is allocated from the employee's salary has not been directed to the central bank. In addition, the 12% that should be paid by the SLTB has not been paid as well. If we have the funds, we will be able to make the payments without any issue.
Addressing Parliament today, Opposition Leader R. Sambandhan spoke on national security.
National security can only be secured if there is justice, equality and equal treatment of all people. Even to the release of lands, there is a feeling amongst some sections of thinking society that the government is not acting on account of the imaginary, exaggerated, fabricated fears on the part of some people that if lands are released to the owners of those lands, what Tamil people, national security will be affected. On the contrary, if these lands are released, those lands will be put to productive use, and there will be much greater production in this country than at present. And the government has stated that they will release those lands.
Another phase of the project to construct 400 houses under the Udagammana project got underway in Lunugambehera today under the auspices of Minister of Housing and Construction Sajith Premadasa.
The foundation stone to construct the Siyathurugama, which was initially known as Padavigammane, was laid today by Minister of Housing and Construction Sajith Premadasa. This village, which is located in the Lunugambehera Divisional Secretariat area, will be developed under the door-to-door and village-to-village housing project and will consist a total of 26 new houses. Land deeds were also presented by the minister at the event.
When the power-hungry joint hypocrites put the government to the test, what was the result? There were 145 in favour of the government. The power-hungry hypocrites received a small amount of about 51 votes. This is at a time when a large group of ours are abroad. What happened in the end? There was just one person who was aware of the situation. That was former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. He used his brain and saved himself. He saw that the omens looked bad, and so he travelled overseas.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa left to Japan this morning.
The former president departed to Japan on an invitation extended to him by Sri Lankans expats in the country. He will remain in Japan till the 16th of this month. The former president's media division stated that he is due to attend several events that are organized by Sri Lankans living in Japan. A delegation including MPs Rohit Abe Gunawardena, Vimal Weerawansa and Mayor of Dehiwala and Mount Lavinia, Dhanasiri Amaratunga, accompanied the former president to Japan.
Former Minister of Economic Development Basil Rajapaksa arrived at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate into large-scale corruption and fraud today to provide a statement with regard to the alleged misuse of state funds.
3 main charges have been levelled against Basil Rajapaksa for alleged misuse of funds of the Gamanaguma project from the year 2010 to 2014. One charge levelled against the former minister is the misuse of 155.4 million rupees for domestic air travel. Another charge levelled against Basil Rajapaksa is the use of 150 personnel from the Army and Navy as his personal staff and misusing 265 million rupees of funds from the Gamanaguma project being paid to them on the grounds of salaries, benefits and VIP security. The third charge levelled against the former minister is the use of 14 vehicles in addition to the 3 vehicles allocated to him as a cabinet minister and spending 20 million on fuel for these 14 vehicles over a period of 5 years. 10 persons, including former Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, P.B. Jayasundara, arrived at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to provide statements with regard to the granting of permission and approval for the usage of such funds for the alleged charges filed.
Our lawyers presented legal facts on our behalf. Charges were also presented. We have to face these situations. We have faith in our attorneys. We are prepared to provide answers in a legal manner. Let us see. They are trying to bring us back. However much we try to step aside, they are not allowing us to do so.
Sirasa TV, the television network that transformed itself to become the most powerful and influential life brand, celebrates 18 years today.
The theme of this year's anniversary celebration is Ratata Waga Kena Janata Nalikawa, loosely translated into the People's Channel, responsible for the nation.
Siwasa TV was able to pave the way for a new era in the history of television in the country after going on air for the first time in the year 1998, bringing with it a host of programs themed generally uncommon.
අනන්තරේ කතන්දරේ සහ හරි පුදුමයි.
තාවනට වදන මේක ගෑක් ගන්න.
Siwasa TV did not falter nor fail amidst many obstacles and even in the face of ruthless attacks. It has been able to be at the forefront of providing entertaining and informative programming to the Sri Lankan television audience for 18 years. While capturing the audience with a wide variety of international and local drama, Siwasa TV was able to further glue the audience through programs like the Siwasa Superstar program, which is the first reality TV experience in the country.
Superstar Season 6 winner Gaya Narosha Bamarunse Ingipana Malka Ravihari Sirasa Dancing Star Sirasa.
And for one perfect moment
Siwasa TV was not only able to etch its mark as an innovative entertainer, but was also able to engrave itself as the people's channel, coming forward during times of disaster and public despair.
අපි මේ අවස්ථාවක් කරගන්නවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ සියලුම
I take this opportunity to thank all our viewers, our sponsors and everyone else for being a part of this long and hard journey. I would like to remind you that we will not be having celebrations today. As the People's Channel that is responsible towards the people, we wanted to share the happiness of the 18th anniversary with the people. How will we share this happiness? The best way to do this is to do things that bring about happiness.
අපි සතුට බෙදාගන්නේ සතුට බෙදාගන්න තියෙන හොඳම ක්‍රමය තමයි ජනතාවට සතුට දැනෙන සතුට හිතෙන දේවල් ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමේ.
The process of refurbishing the Halamba Lake in Tammannawa, Madawachia, which is in a dilapidated state, will be taken up tomorrow in line with the 18th anniversary celebrations of Siwasa TV. This is the present state of the Halamba Lake, which provided water to over 200 acres of paddy fields and provided a livelihood for over 300 families.
We use sacks of fertilizers to divert the water into our fields. It is through farming that we send our children to school and we buy clothes for them. We also have to survive for another 6 months after the farming season concludes. If the tank is refurbished, we will be able to harvest during both the Yala and Maha harvesting seasons.
Last time, because of the lack of water, we only harvested during the Yala harvesting season. That is why we call for the tank expansion.
The refurbishment of the tank will commence tomorrow. The true 18th anniversary celebrations will be the happiness in these eyes when the Halamba Lake is filled with water.
Sina local news chairman of COPE, MP Sunil Handunetti, speaking to Newsfirst today, commented on the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. He noted that the governor of CBSL was grilled by COPE recently.
Has the Auditor General used his powers to obtain data from the central bank?
There was an issue in this regard recently. The central bank says it cannot give this data to the auditors, especially in relation to the bond issue, as this data is highly sensitive in nature.
How can the central bank make such a bold statement and reject the request of the Auditor General?
This is the same issue that we had. Never before has the central bank, its loans department or those in charge of financial transactions at the central bank given such a response. That is why we are saying that the central bank cannot shrink their responsibility.
You are the chairman of the COPE committee. However, we received reports recently that you faced some issues when you attempted to summon the governor of the central bank before the COPE committee.
Such a situation did not arise. When the COPE committee decided to summon someone, it cannot be stopped by anyone except the committee. Some ministers, parliamentarians and even the speaker made a request to postpone the summons as a no-confidence motion was being brought before parliament.
So there was a request.
A request was made. There was no undue pressure. I respectfully declined that request.
From what you told me as the chairman of COPE, I feel that the central bank is not very supportive of the investigation.
The responsibility of safeguarding the power and the independence of the central bank is vested with the parliament, the cabinet and the president.
Various views were expressed on the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Arjuna Mahendran, during media briefings held today.
Sri Lanka Mahabanku Adipatiwaraya
The governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka is not being held accountable to Parliament and is not heeding to the advice of the Attorney General. The credibility of the place where money is minted is lost because of the massive theft that took place at the Central Bank in broad daylight. That is why foreigners are moving away from the government treasury bills. The Finance Minister and the President are responsible for the fraud and corruption at the Central Bank, which lacks transparency.
If it is clear that the actions of the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka is illegal and is against the norms of the country, we as the Sri Lanka Freedom Party note that taking a decision on the Central Bank governor will determine the longevity of the government, the President and the Prime Minister.
It is my personal opinion that even if this is not proven, this will be a point of discussion in the country even if they don't understand the matter. I believe that if he was an intelligent and decent person, he would have resigned already.
No matter how high the position is, if the people don't accept you and if the people call for your removal, then there is no point at all. From the cabinet minister to the grassroots levels in society, everyone is calling for the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to step down and that it is good for the country. In such a backdrop, is such a position and designation worth it?
All schools in the vicinity of the Salaba Army camp in Koskama that were temporarily closed down will be reopened on Monday.
Residents whose houses were damaged owing to the blast were given the opportunity today to visit their houses under the supervision of security officers. The renovation of houses continued today as well. The clearing of shrapnel and relaying of electric lines too were carried out today. 384 houses were completely damaged owing to the blast and another 300 houses were partially damaged. A number of persons are still residing in safety camps. Meanwhile, the relevant statistics too were recorded today to provide relief for the persons affected by the blast. Meanwhile, residents in Anandapura, Koskama staged a protest demanding that relief be granted to them.
We are helpless. It seems like we are living on rent. We haven't even received a kilogram of rice.
Meanwhile, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka states that they are prepared to provide legal advice necessary for area residents of Salava. We will put forward a mechanism together with the Legal Aid Commission to provide legal assistance to these persons. The Bar Association is able to provide legal assistance to these persons by way of public interest litigation to proceed up to the Supreme Court.
Army Commander Lieutenant General Krishanta De Silva chaired a media briefing today to explain the future course of action on the army base in Koskama.
The locals in the area suffered massive property loss because of this incident. We managed to minimize the casualties because of our quick response. I express my apology to the people in the area who suffered property damage. As the commander of the Sri Lanka Army, I need to mention that the Sri Lanka Army will work together with the people until this task is over.
As it was mentioned on our headlines, a number of views were expressed regarding the motion of no confidence that was brought against the Minister of Finance.
අන්වට විශාල ප්‍රශ්නයක් බවට පත් වුණා අපි ඉදිරිපත් කළ
The no confidence motion that was tabled became a huge problem to the government. The United National Party convened separately a number of times before it. The SLFP members who are in government also convened a number of times. Why did they have to convene in this manner? It is because they had to discuss the seriousness of this motion. We believe that our message has now reached the government. The no confidence motion was against a minister. However, the story was not against the minister. The SLFP spoke about a litmus test. According to the result of the former parliamentary election, power has not been given to the United National Party nor the SLFP. As a responsible political party, we reached a decision that we will agree to a national government. We have agreed to function as a national government for another 2 years. After we agreed on a national government, we will not try to topple it. We will try to develop the country. The ministers of the SLFP are engaging in a people-friendly drama under the United National Party Prime Minister. We have the need to reveal this spectacle. Yesterday, the SLFP members who hold ministerial positions lost their right to speak against taxes being imposed and against the elimination of relief programs. The ability to expose them is our second victory. The initial stone was moved in the government that said it would maintain a 2/3 majority. The TNA, which voted in favour of the budget, voted against Ravi Karunanayaka. The JBP also joined the joint opposition and stated very clearly that they have no trust in the Minister of Finance. This will continue till 2020. The SLFP needs to have a program as to how they will win the parliament elections in 2020, because a lot of our people are also unaware as to who will make the parliamentary list in 2020. It will be made by the present president. The government says that they won this after gaining 145 votes. They say that Ravi Karunanayaka is clear of all allegations. They say that he is clear from the mistakes that were done in the economy and in the past. This is not the case. Even though the government won the no confidence motion against the finance minister, who is aiding in the decline of the economy, they have not won the hearts of the people. Mahinda Rajapaksa was not present for the no confidence motion yesterday. It was the same during the previous budget. He was shouting at temples that the people have to face economic hardships. However, he did not come for the budget vote. He could have voted against the budget. He let it go. He avoided the motion of no confidence as well. He did not even sign it. The deals have been revealed to the country.
Well, that's a wrap of Primetime News. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
I'm Saturang Hapwarachi. Take care and good night.